Hello, fellow otaku. You are watching Otaku Movie Anatomy. Let's talk about ancient Romans inspired by modern-day Japanese bath technology in the movie Thermae Romae.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Otaku Movie Anatomy.
Hello, everybody. I really like the sci-fi feeling.
I have not done this show since we started doing the new intros.
Right.
So I was like waiting for the weird Master Roshi bit. I was like, what's happening?
No, Master Roshi is dead and gone.
We killed it.
Yeah, no, I like this new sci-fi opening.
Yeah,
it feels
it's very sci-fi.
it's very like
It's to trick people into thinking we're more professional
Yeah.
than we are.
It's a little
It's like
like
CSI almost.
Sure,
Yeah.
totally. Like I feel some like cyberpunky kind of vibes, like a little Acura, like bubblegum crisis.
Well, to everyone that we tricked into watching our show, thank you for watching Otaku Movie Anatomy. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment on iTunes. If you go to Popcorn Talk, and then you look under Otaku Movie Anatomy, you can listen to us on iTunes.
Yeah.
Make sure to hit that thumbs up on
Why.
YouTube and follow us on Twitter at The Popcorn Talk, as well as Facebook at Otaku Movie Anatomy. I'm your host today, Michelle Chubby Bunny. You can find me everywhere on the internet at I am Chubby Bunny, and I am joined by
Emma Fife. I can be found all over the internet at Emma Fife, which is very convenient. It's my name. It's very easy to remember.
Mine's not so convenient. I'm Maxwell Song at Super Otaku, Super Attack with the U at the end, and you can find me on basically all that social media.
And last but not least, me, Human Ninja. You can find me everywhere on the internet at Human Ninja.
Yeah.
Woo.
So today we are talking about a lot of things, hopefully mostly, about the movie. It's kind of, it said Thermae Romae, but the TH isn't pronounced.
Yeah.
But if you're reading it in Latin, as we are doing,
Right.
Thermae Romae.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
because it's like thermal, right?
Yeah. So this movie...
It's about temperatures.
Yes.
It's about the hotness.
The hotness. So this movie, the reason we're covering it is it's not just a live action movie. It was adapted from... I mean, I guess we could talk about the anime that was just a Flash animation, like 6 episodes.
Okay, so it was an anime. Okay.
It was.
Yeah.
It was like a very insy bincy.
Yeah, I'm
Did
sure.
you say
It was like
a low
it was
budge.
like what like One Punch Man started as,
Like One Punch One?
but never like achieved full anime status.
It's more like
Until
hap-
it did.
It's more like Happy Tree Friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, I remember that weird shit. All right, so we're going to swear a lot. It's going to happen. And we're also talking about butts. So if you're under the age of 18, get out of here. Because we're talking about butts.
I don't know. If
and
you're
fertility
18, I would
offended.
hope you would know what butts are
race.
at least by like 13. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If you don't know what butts are until you're 18, you have a problem.
I think
Yeah.
we're 2. That's all you talk about is butts. Butts
Yeah.
and wieners and...
Yeah, butts and poops and farts. That's
certainly-
literally the main hot topics of when you're like 7 to 13.
Perfect.
Or an adult like me.
So this live action movie was based on a manga written by Maria Menounos. It was run from 2008 to 2013. There were 6 volumes, so not super long, but it did win the Manga Taisho Award in 2010, which is a huge fucking deal.
Yes, it is.
The Academy Award. So like this
The
manga,
Academy Awards of manga.
it's, I mean, what we're seeing is the movie version. It seems a little ridiculous. You have Japanese people playing Romans, all this
Sure,
weird stuff
sure.
happening. But in the manga, she was just straight up just trying to draw foreigners, and it was kind of great.
Yeah.
It was kind of great. Like the whole thing was just so silly that it was.
They're also kind of
enjoyable.
shoujo-y looking almost, right? Because they're just
They're like
this-
old-fashioned looking,
They're
yeah.
very
Yeah.
like fantastical, not like how modern people would see like
Right.
Europeans, like how you would see Europeans in like ancient drawings, but then romanticized from that and turn animal. It's like such a weird style
Yeah.
to make it in.
I wonder if the author, she just looked at like old pictures of Romans. We're like, well, good enough. Just draw this
Exactly.
one.
Because they all have the little curly hair, you know, like the kind of Caesar-y look.
Right.
They always have the
But
pointy
you did her
noses.
research because, like, if you look at it like that, was the style
Yeah.
during Hadrian's rule.
Well, and I mean, even in the opening credits of this movie, like they showed that whole sort of series of those Roman paintings that we see on walls and on vases and ceilings. that definitely like inspired how the characters looked and how they dressed and did the hair of all the prop Caucasians in the movie.
Yeah, that's basically how it was.
Yeah.
Like if in their defense, though, if they didn't have the curly hair, it would be very hard pressed for me to be like, oh, those are Romans. But to a certain extent, because they have that look.
Right.
I was able to almost look past the fact that they're very blatantly Japanese people with like way too much eye makeup. Like way too much.
We're gonna get into that.
Yes.
Everyone had an eyeliner and has eyebrows. It was very nice. So,
It was very nice.
Going right down the line. So this movie, as so silly as the premise was, it did super well at the box office. It came out in 2012 in July. It grossed $74 million US, which is so much money for a Japanese movie.
Wow.
That is niche. That only Japanese people really understand. To be honest. It was the second highest grossing domestic film of that year, which is like insane. Like it was going to get what came out in 2012. I mean, like Clueless. Nah, it's too late.
It's probably a Naruto movie.
Probably a Naruto movie. And then it was so. This movie.
Maybe Death Note, actually.
This fucking movie. It was so popular. A sequel came out.
There's a sequel?
So like
There's
you
a
know how
sequel.
we saw the movie to seem like it ended? Nah, no. He still got problems you gotta fix.
Oh man, how many more problems?
man.
He like made like 400 baths
I think he
already.
made 4. So in 2014, the sequel came out, and the movie poster. I couldn't find the really ridiculous naked one. The regular one is up. It should be up on the screen.
Right.
And the ridiculously naked one is him. Is just Hiroshi Abe like this, and he's just naked, and there's just clouds around him. And it's
Is it
blue.
supposed to be like the finger? Is
And
that the
yes,
finger?
yes,
pose?
Right.
yes.
And I am just like, yes, that's what everyone's here to see.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
one cares about the plot.
So
Okay,
it's
Everybody's
just
here for
2 hours
Hiroshi
of
Abe's
just-
butt.
Just revolving around him
Listen,
in the steam.
if you were at all into Hiroshi Abe's butt, like this is the movie for
Yeah.
you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
We'll get into that in a minute. So, double-sided. Okay, just a quick synopsis. We've already started talking about the movie, and if you haven't seen it, it's confusing. So here's our little rundown. So the story follows a Roman architect named Lucius, who is Hiroshi Abe, we keep talking his butt, who's having trouble coming up with ideas for Roman baths. And it's like such a ridiculous problem.
Yeah.
Yes,
Specific
it's so
ridiculous
ridiculous.
problem.
Because he is an architect, yet it seems that his specific job within the realm of architecture is
only
just
baths.
to make baths.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was like his
yet-
God-given thing, you know. He was just like, he woke up one day and was like, I'm gonna make all the best baths ever. And apparently, the funny thing is, like in the beginning, they introduce another architect
Yeah.
who's
Yes.
just totally into baths.
Yeah.
And only that's it. Like that.
These
Those are
two
the
guys.
only. And for some reason, it makes it seem like this is like some sort of like saturated market. There's just so many bath
So many
architects
baths.
out there.
So in the saturated market of two
Bath
architects, he discovers in his thinking, he discovers a hidden tunnel underneath the spa that leads him to a modern Japanese bathhouse. So like the current time, not ancient Roman time.
Right.
And he's in
Yes.
a bath,
Yeah.
and it's super great. And basically, he goes to modern day Japan. He's inspired by the innovations of bath technology, and and then he comes back. He's able to go back and forth because when he cries, when he's so moved by technology, he cries, and then he gets transported back to ancient Rome. It's such a great hook. I mean, who doesn't want to see
Is
this?
it because he
cried.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
He goes
anytime.
back?
Yeah, because
He
he
figured
figures
it
it
out.
out in the end when Mommy goes back to her time because she's getting really emotional and
Oh,
she
okay,
starts
that's
crying
what
and she starts to disappear and he's like, "Oh, you're going back. I get it now. Every time I cried was when I came back to Rome."
But then it's like, because it's like, first of all, he like made the tunnel somehow. Like, I was like, he just got sucked through it. And then then he just kind of like, after that, he just like, every time he fell into water-based
There
areas.
didn't have to be
Yeah.
a tunnel.
like, he fell into a puddle and then he got transported
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Japan. I was like, wait.
Yeah, so basically every time in ancient Rome when Lucius encounters a problem, he is swept to Japan via lake, pond, alligator pond. There's an
Yeah.
alligator pond at some point.
Yeah.
And then
He goes into the festival, the fertility festival.
So
like,
he's transported
Yeah.
to many different areas. So it's not just he comes into a Japanese bathhouse. So one time it's that, one time it's the fertility festival.
And
One
it's a
time it's just somebody's
bathtub.
bath.
yeah, someone's
And then one was like, it was
the
like,
bath in the showroom floor at the
Floor,
weird
yeah.
the weird
The
only
jacuzzi
bathroom
place.
like
The best scene
Yes.
I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I was just crying, laughing at them being like, "Why is there a man? It's definitely your lover. Why?"
I love like the jump too. It's just like, who is this guy? He definitely your boyfriend.
And then she gets fired. But anyway, jumping ahead a little bit. He ends up in a zoo at one point. Basically, he goes in these areas and he finds whatever specific ass problem he has.
Yeah.
He's like, "This is exactly the solution, yay!" And then he gets transported back.
Yep.
And that's a synopsis of this amazing.
well, okay. So just the idea though is like there's always a problem in Rome. Like there's a war in Rome,
Yep.
or there's someone important is sick, or
Right.
someone needs healing, and the
The
answer
emperor-
every time is
a bath.
Is a bath. It's like
Yep.
because
Yeah.
I've improved this bath, we have improved Rome as a whole nation.
I mean, basically, the sort of moral of this story is that Emperor Hadrian's like illustrious rule of Rome was
due.
made by the fact that he had fabulous baths.
I think
Every time. Every time.
the weirdest thing is that like it seems so like disconnect when we look at it as Westerners.
Right.
But like when I read, I was reading like some Japanese reviews of this and like why they love it so much, and it's like it's because these are the two cultures that love bath culture so much.
Sure.
The ancient Romans and the Japanese.
I mean that it totally works in that sense because even I got that feeling. I don't really know that much about Rome at all, except that I know that it's like was a great empire that had this illustrious arts and stuff, and it makes sense to me. Just the one thing is, it's like, who would have thought bath culture was so big that this would be such a success as entertainment?
True. Yeah,
is
true.
what
Is
the thing that trips me up.
I was gonna say, I will say though, I do remember when we were studying ancient Rome in high school, like really getting driven home, like they loved their public baths.
That and was it that they also like to wrestle naked? Those are the two things that I basically knew.
Public baths and fluid sexuality.
Yeah. I think it's very specific though. Like the Japanese bath culture is very like, relaxing, and
it's true.
And Romans were completely different, but they are two giant like cultures that love baths.
Well, and I mean, and that was sort of part of Lucius's journey, was that like his attitude towards the public bath was much more like a contemporary Japanese attitude of this is where we're gonna go to relax.
Because he's Hiroshi Abe.
I mean,
his fruit milks, the fruit milks that he brought to Rome.
I'm like,
and the process of making glass bottles, technology they did not have at all.
The bucket had
he knew the katakana by looking at it once. It was able to put it.
That's how moved he was.
Let's be real, guys. They went to the store and bought a bunch of fruit milks, and we're like, look, they're in ancient Rome.
Maybe he pushed them through the tunnel.
Yeah, like that's what I was saying, because I was like, how did he get the paint that was like water resistant? And like how did he get like the kanji on the bath like drapes? That seems really fast.
It was.
They would have to have invented a bunch of new technology to even be able to refine glass to be see-through. And I don't know why I thought that was weird, but anyway.
This is one of many scenes. Totally.
I bought the baskets 100%. Like, baskets, cool, we can weave
because
them.
you think Rome and you're like, they'd probably weave the shit out of some baskets in their life. I think that this works so well is because it's so tongue-in-cheek. Like, they know exactly what it is. Yeah. What a ridiculous premise. And the thing that I think other people, like some live action films that are based off manga and anime, the problem they have is like they're way too serious.
Yeah. They're too serious for what it is.
Yeah, and this one was like not serious at all.
No. It's a comedy. Like it's supposed to be funny.
No, it definitely didn't take itself too seriously. And I mean, some of the special effects.
All right, we're gonna get into that later. So real quick, in chat, hello Jeff Burns, hello Hassan.
Hi, guys.
If you have any questions,
guys.
ask us. Feel free to just spam and say hello over and over. We're going to talk about butts real soon, so just hang in there.
Yeah, hang in there.
We like butts.
We know why you're here. Real quick, we'll talk about the actors for this lovely, amazing movie. We already talked about Hiroshi Abe, who is great. Like, if you have even heard of Japan, you kind of probably have seen his face. He's in every single fucking commercial. He's won the Japanese Academy Award over and over and over. He's Lucius Modestus in this movie, the Roman bath technologer architect man.
Technologer.
In IRL, so people always ask if he's half something else because he's really tall. He's 6'2". Yeah. And he's also 50 years old when he shot this movie, which is insane because his body is
it's really good.
But he's not.
Those Asian genes.
Yeah, that vampire blood.
Yeah, he's 100% Japanese.
People.
He's not mixed with anything. He just has strong features. He's definitely tan a lot for this movie.
Yeah.
And they did the prosthetic eyebrows. But he had no weird nose stuff or anything done to him. So it's just that's how he looks like.
He just has the sharpest nose I've ever seen any human being basically have.
Except for the supporting character, which he's been in a lot of movies, such as Bubble Ego, Going to the Bubble, Kekkon Dekinai Otoko, where he plays a crotchety old man. Please, no. Crotchety old man who can't get married. It's great.
Sure, okay, he can't get
married. I see
he can't get married.
He was in At Home Dad.
He looks too foreign. He looks too foreign.
Just for the record, he is unreasonably attractive.
Yeah.
He is so hot.
It's ridiculous. I mean, you know,
He
how they
has
put him
like
as
the
the lead of the
biggest
movie.
eyes ever. Like,
Yeah.
They just anytime he like stares at something intently, you're just like,
Yeah.
oh my god.
He's
Yep.
super. He has zero. He looks like he has like 0% body fat. It's
Yep.
insane.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's.
Anyway,
Let's move on, please.
other tidbits. He was in At Home Dad. It was a really great drama series. Trick, which I feel like everybody is in these movies is in Trick. There was like so many of them.
Yeah.
And he also narrated. If you guys remember the movie Chocolate,
Yes.
it was that Thai movie that was the martial arts.
Oh.
like a girl.
It's not that girl that like can
Yes.
do martial arts.
That movie was insane, but he narrated in the Japanese version. It was-
Ah,
okay.
Oh, let's
okay.
go right.
Yeah. Yep.
We also have, so Emperor Hadrian was played by Masachika Ichimura. Not too much to say about him except that he was the voice of Mewtwo in the first Pokemon movie.
Yes.
Perfect.
What else do you need to say after
Yeah.
that? That's like the ultimate.
He also did the voice of Jack Skellington in the Kingdom Hearts games.
Cool.
And he mostly does musicals and live theater, and he does some film and TV. We also have the weirdly, not really love interest, but there's like a 20-year age difference in these two people, by the way. There's the one girl in the movie, basically. It's Aya Ueto, and she's playing Mami Yamakoshi, who's kind of supposed to be like portray the manga artist.
Yeah.
In the actual manga, there's a different girl that's not named Mami, so this is an original character for the movie. Aya Ueto is like crazy in everything. She won some like idol contest when she was like 16, and she's been in everything since then.
Oh, nice.
You probably know her from Azumi, the crazy
Yep.
like was it a Samurai Girl live action
Yeah.
film?
Yep.
It's like 20
Yeah, yeah.
films.
It's ninjas.
Yeah,
Ninjas.
Oh
Ninja
no, I made the
Gaels.
mistake. She also was the dub voice of Speed Race, and remember that live action Speed Racer movie we got in 2008? She dubbed Trixie.
That's
But she wasn't Trixie. She also, okay, moving on. She also, in Twilight, in all those movies in Twilight, she dubs Bella.
Wonderful.
she's probably
So, like,
good to know.
just to give you, like, her
Yeah.
ranking, she dubbed Aurora in the Maleficent movie.
Oh, wow.
And she also dubbed Judy Hopps in Zootopia. So she's like,
Oh, she's like A grade.
Yeah,
A grade
A-list.
Japanese actress.
I like how I
Nice.
had to name drop Zootopia for you guys to get.
Yeah, I mean, once you do Zootopia, you're like, oh man, you've
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah.
You've made it in this industry.
I will say I'm somewhat interested to watch Twilight in Japanese now because I feel like her performance might be
I will never
be-
stronger.
You
No.
can, sure, we can look at a clip on YouTube.
Too
but,
dramatic.
yeah, we'll go over that next time.
Maybe a clip.
Yeah. She also was married to Hito, singer of Exile.
Ah.
That band has been around for 20 fucking years. In the manga version, so her character's name is Satsuki, and she's actually like a Roman otaku. She's like all about. That's the reason why she can like speak Latin.
That makes sense.
But in the movie, they're like, oh, she. What did she say? I studied for an evening some Latin.
For
I
studied
one
all
night.
night.
all night.
Yeah,
She's
all night.
fluent.
Yep.
Because this bitch is like crazy IQ or something.
Yeah.
I don't even
I
know.
guess so.
The thing is like I really liked Mommy, but I did feel like that was a little bit of a disconnect where all of a sudden she was because she was a manga artist. That was what she wanted to do, and
Yeah.
I really liked that. And she was super quirky.
Yeah.
And like when he first shows up at the bathhouse and is just like laying on the floor naked, she's like, "Yes, I must sketch this beautiful man." But
Yep.
like it was a little weird.
Yeah.
I studied Latin all night. Like it made sense from the point of view of it was very clear that she was enamored of this guy.
Yeah.
And he kept coming back into her life, and she knew he was speaking Latin, and so she was trying to find a way to connect with him. But the fact that she just like became fluent
Yeah,
overnight,
in a night.
that's where my suspension of
I
disbelief.
feel like sure. I mean, I don't. The whole thing is it doesn't take it seriously, so it was like kind of dismissible. But then it's like when she goes to Rome, then they just like drop everything.
Yeah, that was-
They don't
yeah.
even like address like, are you speaking Latin? Are you speaking Japanese? But then everyone's speaking Japanese, even though she is speaking Japanese. Even though I guess she's supposed to be speaking Latin,
Latin,
Right.
Which
Yeah.
I guess they're trying to translate it as Latin,
Right.
which does make her fluent.
And also on top of that, like the Latin thing, that could have been really super funny because as we
Yeah.
say, it is a comedy. But when they get to ancient Rome, suddenly she turns into the Satsuki character where
Yeah.
she's like, I know all about everything that happens in ancient Rome. Whereas
Yeah.
like that
She did
was
do a lot
not
of reading.
addressed.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like that is way more believable because, like, after she met him, like, she had all this research material. So it's like, you know, like, I get the history, like, her knowing, like, big chunks of, like, major events of history make way more sense than her just being like, oh, here, let me, like, give you all these detailed plans of, like, how we should do this and this and
Yeah.
build all of these things.
Well, they had
and-
to. How else you gonna move the story along? Have meetings.
have meetings.
Did you want more meetings, Max?
I was hoping they would do maybe hand signs or something.
All right, that's
drawings.
nice. So I'm gonna skip over Antonius because let's face it, he didn't really do a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he was also in the film
know.
Azumi with everybody else.
Yep.
Don't care.
But Seonius, who is kind of like the asshole guy,
the
who's the
bad guy.
organizer, is played by Kazuki Kitamura. And he is so amazing in Neko Samurai, Cat Samurai. This drama is so good. If you don't know what I'm talking about, get on the YouTubes and look it up because it's so funny. He's a samurai who just he hates cats, but then he finds this cat and he ends up protecting him out of spite. It's really great. It's real good. I don't know how to explain it, but it's basically like Cat and a Samurai, and it's good. It's a good show.
I'm in. I like samurai. I like cats. So.
And someone, and Max was asking me earlier, he's like, I feel like these guys have prosthetics on to look more foreign, and I'm like, especially Seonius, and I'm like, actually, he's just had a lot of work done in general, and he always looks like that. That pointy nose.
Listen, it was a very effective look for a bad guy.
Yeah, but I mean, that eyeliner was eyeliner. I mean, that's not.
Yeah.
Can I just point out the fact that his character was so boring that every time they introduce him, he has to have some girl that he's macking on, who's just all the time he's macking on some
just
chick.
in case you
new
forgot.
One. Yeah, this guy, he's
guy.
not a very good guy. Look at how he treats women like shit.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
the
true,
gaggle of Caucasian ladies was pretty hilarious.
true.
Yes.
to me.
You guys.
When I thought that, I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say.
When I was watching this movie, because of course it is a Japanese film and everybody is speaking Japanese, I'm looking at, obviously, Lucius, I know, Japanese actor.
Yeah.
And everyone else, I'm looking around and I'm like, they look weirdly Caucasian. And why is it that their dialogue seems to be a little out of sync with what they're saying?
Because they've been dubbed.
Yeah, if you watch this movie, it's so funny that
Yeah.
all the Japanese actors are speaking Japanese, and then the Japanese, but they're supposed to be Romans, and then the Romans who are Caucasian are just dubbed over.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I have to say that stage work was magnificent. Those sets were
yeah.
just
That's really good.
Except
besides
for the one really bad green screen.
Sure, yeah.
The flames were so bad.
Despite the one, the Japanese people that are clearly dressed as white people.
Right.
Everything else was great. The costumes were great.
Yeah.
The tone was great. Just the atmosphere,
Yeah.
it really gave you a feeling oh man, this is a really high budget movie.
Yeah.
And it did very well.
It was.
so-
I mean, it was really interesting too, just to see this sort of juxtaposition where the majority of the Romans were white people and black people.
Yeah.
And then to have all of the main characters, all the ones who had a lot of dialogue. So Lucius and Hadrian and Antonius and the Seonius, the bad guy. They were all Japanese, so it was really funny because it's but they're all supposed to be white. It was very.
I mean,
it was amusing.
It's a movie that's made for Japan. So when we see movies, it's weird for us because we're watching it out of we're not Japanese. But
Right.
Yeah.
We watch a Hollywood movie, and they're supposed to be in Paris, but they're all speaking with, for some
They're
reason,
all speaking
English
English.
accents.
Yeah,
We're kind of
totally.
Whatever.
It's just
Dismissible.
Moulin Rouge.
No, I agree with you on that. Well, and I mean, it's just so interesting to kind of see it the other way around, especially because there has been so much attention on this in the media lately.
And we'll get to that later,
Yes.
actually.
So it's interesting and.
So before that,
and good.
while we all kind of enjoy how hilarious this movie, Yume is gonna point out some
people
amusing
that know your
inaccuracies.
name.
So
Yes.
I only listened to a couple because there were so many. The movie is just hilariously inaccurate. It actually read to me more like a 2-hour rom-com advertisement for Japanese baths.
Okay.
Because I mean, they go through here's the spa, here's the bathtub,
Here's the mineral bath. Here's our spa eggs. Here's our
you're
milk
right.
So
culture.
right off the bat,
get
it
it.
was just the very small social differences. Right when Hiroshi Abe or Lucius is he's oh, I can only think in the tub, and he sinks down. I was like, that's such a Japanese thing to do. Romans used bathtubs to do business, to socialize, to play sports naked. It was not let me go here and be quiet and think like it is in Japan. So
Right.
So it was just such a huge divorce from what Romans did in baths, and I was like, well, this is very Japanese. And to me, the premise of him going to Japan and be oh, I am inspired to bring this back to Rome, and it's no, they were all Roman baths were all based on the the social bathing in Greece. So all of the baths that they made were basically like the Grecian ones. Had 3 exits for men, women, and slaves. They had mixed baths, and like there's like some people say that Hadrian tried to end the mixed, but there's no proof. So I don't know. But then they didn't show it in the movie. They like the mixed bathing, which would have been more historically accurate.
I think it's in the manga, just to be fair. Yeah. They couldn't get to that in this one. Maybe it's in the second movie. We don't know. We haven't seen it yet.
That's true.
Because accuracy was the thing they're going for.
Yeah,
they really were
They really have a chance this time.
Historical fiction, emphasis on history.
And then like that part where he goes to like the bathtub and he comes back and like makes it for the old man. I was like, first of all, how fast are you making these baths?
Yeah, seriously.
He's like, oh, back to Japan, back to Rome, pop up like new bath.
I know, every single time it was like 5 days later. What?
Yeah. It's just like immediately would make these things work.
He just like fashioned the pump. And then I was also thinking about that as like, did you make one? Did you just have one? Is it like a communal thing or is it just for him? What's going on?
And then that was like another thing. It was just like people who had private baths were only rich people, and it was a big status symbol. So him making it for that old dude, and I was like, first of all, the old dude didn't look rich at all at any point, and I was like, what are you doing? It was
I think
very
that was his
jarring.
master, though. I believe that was his master, which still, once again, still doesn't make sense.
His like architecture sensei.
Maybe,
Yeah, because he's in the beginning, and he's like, and then the other dude, the rival bath architect man, comes over and is like, he's gonna get the job now, see? And then that's
so
how.
And then I thought it was funny because like the dude is just like looks like a pipe in the wall, some random field, and I was like, where is he taking this bath? Like,
I don't, just in the middle of the field, just because that's what happens.
So yeah, it was super jarring for me. And then lastly, actually, Michelle pointed this out in the notes. Bananas are not from Egypt. And then I did research, and technically they're not far from the truth. So I actually researched bananas because of this. So bananas, there's like a shit ton of like varieties of bananas.
Okay.
But they believe that the original banana started in like Papua New Guinea and like Southeast Asia. And then during like I guess the tribes that were local there migrated to Madagascar, and then it spread throughout Western and Southern Africa. So they're not wrong when they had him bring it over from Japan.
So you're saying that the part where the emperor reminisces about the time he ate the fruit with his little nubile slave boy and how in love they were, that was accurate.
Dude, that was his son.
That was his son.
That was his son? That was not his son.
So I don't think Max actually watched the movie.
I did not get that from him. I did not get
he
that
said
at all.
my son like several times.
No, but it was like, but they said it was his like adopted son.
Also,
it was not.
Okay,
it was not his
You know
child.
why I thought that? I thought that because like the son was white. And he was, and the emperor wasn't. So like to me, they like totally jarred it.
In this
Emperor
world,
was white too. Everyone's white.
Everyone's
No,
white.
and I understand that, but when I saw it, just visually, I was like,
actually,
something
that
is going
makes
on there.
sense if what Emma said was true. They said adopted son because in the manga, it's a whole big deal that the emperor is gay. It's a huge, it's a huge arc.
That's not
But
a
they don't talk
weird
about
thing.
it. They don't talk about it at all in the movie.
Which is funny because in actual Rome, that wouldn't be a big deal.
No, it's not.
Everyone had a little boy.
It is because it's considered Greek to do. There's a whole thing.
Oh, is it Greek
in
or
the
not,
manga?
right?
I mean, I don't know in real life what it was like, but in the manga, it was like I have to hide it because people would judge me like I'm a Grecian.
I mean,
instead of Roman.
I definitely interpreted that as Antonia because there were
was
like
very
8
pretty.
characters named Antonius.
By the way, if you rewatch the scene, you'll probably think along those lines of us. There's no way you're gonna be like, oh, that's just a normal father-son relationship.
Okay.
You know.
So back to the bananas. The reason why the banana thing came up is because he was imagining this kid dies and he's like, oh, I got this alligator. Or it was crocodile. Crocodile is alligator. The
It's
ones are in Egypt.
whatever.
I think they say alligator, but it's supposed to be crocodile.
So he gets a crocodile, and he's like, the crocodile's dying. When the crocodile dies, I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, because like the spirit of Antonio is
reincarnated
I'm going
into
to
this
kill myself
crocodile
when this
from the
crocodile
Nile.
dies.
But
What a
also,
great line from a movie.
how hilarious was the prop for the alligator?
Oh my god, they just pushed
crocodile.
it.
Yeah.
It's a toy, they
It
just
was
pushed
toy.
it.
It also had like the biggest head, but it had the tiniest
Yeah,
legs.
it was like a baby or something.
Yeah, and every time it like was in the water, it just kind of do this.
And didn't didn't it also make like growling sounds?
Yeah.
Like I don't
Yeah.
It was like,
Big tiger noises.
Yeah,
crocodiles sound like that.
I think they hiss.
All right, so it was grossly historically inaccurate, but it was still, but in doing so, it was hilarious.
Yeah, because they acknowledged how, like, it's one of those things where it's like, it could be kind of racist, but they acknowledge how ridiculous and stupid this all is.
Like, it's not supposed to be. But
yeah.
what a
And-
premise, first of all.
Yeah.
moving right along.
Yeah, so let's
we're gonna
move
get
right
deep.
into Max's section.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Race
okay.
Wars, Part 2.
So, obviously, there's been a lot of, I guess, controversy
Yeah.
amongst people because of whitewashing in Hollywood, etc. And I thought this movie was a very interesting example of like how there are different ways that every other race deals with race and casting within movie culture.
Yeah.
Right? And I just wanted to know, like, at what point is it going too far? What is acceptable? Like, to me, this is
Right.
an acceptable kind of like use of race. Like, they're not like putting on funny prosthetics.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
Which they have totally done in the past.
Yes,
They usually
absolutely
do
have.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
And like big wigs and shit.
Big nose.
Yeah,
that's always
that's
a
the
thing.
thing is that there was nothing offensive about the way that they did this.
Yeah,
you know,
'cause-
as you say, there weren't any like weird noses, and
They
they
don't-
didn't try to have them speak in dumb
Yeah.
American
Yeah.
accents or anything like that. I mean, they weren't supposed to be American; they were supposed to be Roman.
Yeah, and I think the way they did it, that kind of like, we knew that they were Japanese, but in the movie, at no point they were like, you look Japanese. They were just like, no, we're Romans, and
yeah.
that's it. Like, nothing, no
what it was-
questions asked.
You know what it was like is like watching a play, because I feel like in the
Yes.
theater it's a lot more like in the theater you can go see a play and it's about a family and one of the daughters is Asian, one of the daughters is black, and they've got a Hispanic son, and you're like,
Right.
yep, that's a family.
Yeah.
That's fair. Whatever. I think that's very dismissible.
Yeah.
And that's why I think this totally works. And I just want to know, for our panel of people, like, what do you think is where it crosses the line? Like, where does it go too far? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's everything we talked about, but in the reverse. So if you
Yeah.
do use prosthetics and you like make them speak in like, it's the Japanese are really bad about portraying foreigners in most of the time.
Yes.
Yes,
What you
very,
see in
very
dramas
much
and
so.
stuff, you'll have some Japanese guy dressed as a foreigner with a funny wig, and he'll yell some English words, but when he speaks Japanese, it's like so offensive to me. Like, oh, are you a foreigner who's been living in Japan for 20 years and you're gonna still talk like that? Like, they basically like konnichiwa, like
Yeah.
what is this
Watashi
desu
wa
wa?
America,
Ha, ha, ha. And they
man.
have
Yeah.
like cameras.
Yes.
They're always
Yeah.
wearing backpacks. They look like the ugly American tourist
They're
version.
always
Yeah.
like aggressive or
Foreigners.
something.
But to be fair, when you go to Japan, you see those people, you're like, no!
Yeah,
Yeah, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is
True.
why the Japanese think Americans are this way.
Yeah. But I
So-
mean,
Yeah.
it's usually like a huge like character. I mean, you have things like like Nodame, where it's like the dude is supposed to be German, so
my
he has
God,
a
I forgot about
giant,
him.
he has a giant prosthetic nose. He has got a really crappy wig, and the girl is like supposed to be like half Russian, and she's got obvious blue contacts and a really
Yeah.
shitty wig.
Yeah.
And you're like, nobody's convinced that you're a foreigner except for the funny way that you're
I
talking.
will say that was basically the only thing I liked about the live action Attack on Titan was that they dropped the whole like everybody's German thing.
Yeah.
And
But-
just like
See, but I think
But
they should
also-
have done it this way, where they could have just like
yeah,
they
I
could have
know.
just
I
been
agree
like
with you.
they're
Rather,
German.
wigs on.
rather
Yeah.
than
You know?
rather than changing people to have Japanese names, but only
Yeah.
like half the characters. It was so.
So
Yeah.
I think,
Only
I
the
think
unimportant
that's,
ones.
in terms of like the controversy now with Ghost in the Shell and
Yeah.
Scarlett Johansson, I feel like there's two different issues. The one issue is for really more of like an Asian American perspective,
Yes.
not an Asian perspective, an Asian American perspective, which is like, hey, this is an opportunity for Asian actors and
Yeah.
people that work in the Asian entertainment to maybe possibly have an equal opportunity to be cast, and that was not considered.
Nope.
And to the other end, which would be, why is the major Motoko Kusanagi being, portrayed by a white person, and that being more of like a source, going away from the original source, kind of like Attack on Titans,
Yeah.
where it
Sure,
was like,
sure.
you know, that was the whole thing, is they made everything Japanese because they were like, here, we're going to use the majority of Asian actors.
Right.
But that totally worked against them because in a way it was just like,
No.
it's so far away
Yeah.
from
No,
the
I
source
totally
material.
agree. Well, and that's the thing is that it's like, hey, America, if you want to make a live action movie based on an anime series or a manga, like Attack on Titan is your thing. Like that is what you should be doing.
That's what you should do.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, because I mean, this is the thing is. So number one, there were a whole lot of white people in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah. A ton.
Yeah.
Like they literally.
There were more white
I
people
feel-
than there were
yeah.
Asians.
I really-
scoured all like the world for all the white people in Japan.
feel like that. I feel like that's what it was. I feel like there was a casting notice that's like, anyone who is remotely white, please come to our set.
And just
Yeah.
whatever, we'll do whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, because I mean that's the thing that's frustrating. So I mean, with Japan, obviously you're talking a smaller scale cinema, a smaller outreach than you're getting with American produced films.
Sure.
So with some and American produced films are also it's totally away from that theater thing I was talking about. Like you can't make a movie in the U.S. and have a family where the mom is white, you know, the dad is Hispanic, and they've got 3 Asian children and a black child.
Yeah.
Sure.
You wouldn't believe that was a family because, like, genetically speaking, that is not going to happen. So it's so frustrating
Right,
that
yeah.
they have this character who is Japanese.
If they would have just not kept the goddamn name,
Yeah.
then it might have almost
It
been
could have
okay.
literally just been like, hey, this is a Ghost in the Shell story. Call her the Major. That's fine.
Yeah,
because
I
there's
think
a
she
lot
could
of
have been
Major.
Major
Isn't that what they're
Smith.
doing though?
Yeah.
They're just calling her the major.
We
I-
don't
they're
know
calling her
that.
Kusanagi.
I
I'm pretty sure they called her Kusanagi.
I would still have a problem with
I'd
it,
still have a
though,
problem with
because
it.
Like I'm just saying though, like they're basically saying like, hey, you know what? It doesn't matter if she's Asian, but we're still,
Yeah.
but it's like a slap in the face to keep the name. It's
It
wrong
is.
either
Yeah.
way.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
wrong
I
either
agree.
way.
But like it's just like, hey, like we
And
don't
it's
even
like-
care what you look
And
like.
I mean,
you
this
know?
is not necessarily a good comparison, but it's like, you know, in Pacific Rim, because they created the characters for that movie, but it's not like they had Mako Mori and she was played by a white girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she is a Japanese character.
Yeah.
The end. So yeah, it's very.
And it would be weird to have a white chick playing a chick named Mako Mori.
Right,
You know, like
yeah.
it's weird to have Scarlett Johansson playing a chick named Motoko Kusanagi.
exactly.
Yeah, just, you know what? All they really had to do was say, like, Ghost in the Shell, blankety blank. Like a
Yeah.
totally different
Totally
alternate title. because-
Inspired by,
Yeah.
It's like that. You can have the same idea. You can have even the same problem. You
Yeah.
can have the same plot. You can have all these things. But to them, it was really more of like just I think the thing that it bothers me the most is the lack of consideration for
Yeah.
the source material.
Yeah.
And not even being able to like be like, oh, this could be even remotely culturally different. And so maybe we should just make it into a totally different thing.
Right.
Which would have told...
Yeah.
Solve
not
the problems.
ScarJo. I love ScarJo.
Oh, I love
think
Scarlett
I
Johansson.
think for a role like that, she would have been perfect. And I understand that she would have been perfect, and that, obviously that's why they picked her.
Yeah.
But like that's just put a little bit more consideration into something that is culturally meaningful from another culture, in which you're getting it
I
from.
agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I mean, because there are plenty of series in Japan that, you know, anime and manga series, you know, Attack on Titan certainly being a very prime example.
Yes.
I mean, Attack on Titan isn't even this. Like, Attack on Titan is like, everybody is white.
Yeah,
and
it's
and it's-
specifically said
Right.
everybody is white.
And it's unusual that there's this half Japanese girl.
Yeah.
But there are so many anime series and manga that are kind of ethnically ambiguous anyway.
Yeah.
But Ghost in the Shell is not one of them.
not
So
one of
Absolutely not.
there's been an argument, and you know, I keep seeing it online, is that you know there is a financial reason why this all happened, and we all know we're
Sure.
not idiots.
Yeah. Sure.
And the reason is that if you have a movie that is based off of some weird anime and that might not do well, you really need a big star to anchor the movie and to get people to see it. However, and the argument is that if it has to be a girl, there's really only so many action stars it can be who are women unless you change into a man. So it's either Jennifer Lawrence or ScarJo. And people have
Yeah.
been listed like 4 white women. And the thing is like that everyone's like, you shouldn't get mad because it's just money. But the reason that we are mad, angry, and frustrated is because those opportunities are never created for Asian Americans.
I agree.
To
And then-
be leads, and that's why it's a vicious circle of we can't be leads because we never
Yeah.
were leads, so
Yeah.
we can't be leads
And then
again.
like the worst part is that like it's not just that like the whole problem is that they're telling Asian people not to be mad because the system works against them. So
Yeah.
we can't even be mad about our lack of representation.
Who made the system?
Yeah, and it's like we can't be mad at the people keeping us down.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's like that's not true. You don't have to have a big name to sell a movie. I mean, like I said, I keep saying it. Marvel just proved it. They have a no name named Tom Holland who's playing Peter Parker. You damn bet that he's gonna blow up after Civil War.
Absolutely.
Of course he is.
Like it's just every argument that I've heard, I was like, do you know how stupid you sound?
Yeah, and this is the thing too. Is I mean, with a franchise like Ghost in the Shell, you are taking something that already has a built-in audience.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So you're
totally alienating them.
It's also only one of the more beloved series of America.
Yeah.
In anime. Like if you're going up to me and you're telling me like, yeah, we want to like cast a white actress so that we can get more eyes and more money. Then what you're telling me is that you just want to make more money. Yeah. Not that you're trying to do anything for that franchise.
Yeah. I agree.
You know, like why make it shit and ruin it like oh my god,
don't do
Dragon
Ball.
You know, you're gonna pull a Dragon Ball on this, and it's not gonna help anybody. You're not gonna make any money. No. The way that you make money, as Marvel has proved, and all these comic franchises have proved again and again and again, is that you do for what the source material is. You do it for the fans. You do it for the love of that franchise, and you will make money.
And I
that
think
is exactly how it
goes back to. It's just like when they're like, oh, there's no big name actress. Like where the hell do you think like Jennifer Lawrence came from? She didn't automatically become big.
Knew
you know,
she was really before Hunger Games. I mean, she'd been Mystique in X-Men First Class, and she'd done Winter's Bone. And, I mean, I saw her interviewed, and I was like, I love this girl.
For every argument, we could make a counter argument.
Absolutely.
And the thing is, unfortunately, that counter argument for our case, I feel, is maybe I'm being a little biased, but way stronger, even just from a logistical point of view. You want to make money, that's how you're gonna make money. And to say that like Chloe Bennett isn't even like considered, okay? Like
Chloe Bennett.
Yeah, Chloe Bennett. She maybe not like a full Asian person, but you know, like that doesn't really matter. At least there's some representation for her. Like that's a good segue.
Yeah.
She's gonna be in the Inhumans movie, which is going to be a blockbuster movie.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, where's the logic in this?
All right, guys. So if you're just tuning in, we have some people commenting like, "What the hell am I watching?" We were talking about Thermae Romae, and because Asians were portraying Caucasians, Romans, we kind of did the flippy flop and talked about Ghost in the Shellsy. However, we got about 10 minutes left. We should get back to the movie.
Yes.
I just want to say one thing, and the whole thing is, it's not just American movie industry. It is every movie industry that does this.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to unfairly say that this is just America, but just know that this is basically because there is a culture of people that actually do work here, that want to be represented, at least for the race that they can possibly portray. That's all.
Yeah.
Yep. But, you know, just wait 100 years and maybe we'll get somewhere. I honestly...
Once we're all one homogenous race of creamy people.
Gonna happen eventually.
The coffee milk people that we will be. And it'll be
lovely. So some extra stuff. I did want to, getting back to the movie, briefly ask everybody what their favorite scene was from this ridiculous movie that made no sense. It was so delightful in how it just didn't care about itself.
I liked all the stuff with all the old dudes that hung out at
the old dudes make this movie
at Mommy's Family Bathhouse.
They're the best.
I especially enjoyed, and this happened one time with Lucius as well, when they traveled to ancient Rome, and they're like in the water because Mommy ends up going with Lucius to ancient Rome earlier because they like fall in the water and like get transported, and then the guys go like looking for her. They see her hat floating in the water, and so then they all go through the same like magical tunnel. But the way they do it is first you like see them all underwater, but then they like throw a bunch of action figures in like a toilet.
And you just see them.
It's so cruelly made. It's like.
But did you notice the reason they do that is it was not a great reason. They when all of the time travel sequences, as you keep going through the movie, they get worse and worse. The first one's kind of okay, but then they just like spend less and less money, but it's like a joke.
To
go right
Which is great. I love jokes like that.
Because the first one is like Lucius and he's kind of go into the water and there's like a light, like almost like Little Mermaid-esque, and then
you see a crack
Yeah.
and then you see like this vortex of
but then
water.
the second time
bubbles.
he does it, it's just they took like a picture of him going like this and they just pushed it on a black screen.
Yes.
And then the third time they're just like like someone threw something and that was supposed to be him. It was really funny. They just really they made it a running gag and that was my best part of that.
Yes, but I loved the old dudes. They were so great.
The old dudes literally make that movie. Like if it wasn't for the old dudes, it would not even be remotely funny.
Yeah.
Like just when like he pops up and the first thing you see is like this old dude with just like a red baboon face and just like cackling like a mad person. It's like, oh man, what a good introduction.
I will say, as somebody who is a white person who has been to an onsen before, the way that the old men were reacting to him when he just showed up at the onsen was exactly how all the little old Japanese ladies reacted to me. They all wanted to talk to me. They all wanted to touch my hair. Like it was.
Yeah, they're like, do you know how this works? It's water.
Yes, yes.
One time, you and I went to a Korean bath. This is in Los Angeles. Like, this is in K-Town. But it was maybe like, I don't know, 5 years ago. So it wasn't really cool to go to Korean spas yet. Yeah. And we were in like the communal we're in some communal room, and there's these ladies kept yelling because I reserved a thing for us under my name. They kept yelling. Michelle, and grabbing my hand and look at this room. You can lay down here. We're like, okay, cool. Like, Michelle, they grab my hand. Let's go over here. Look, you can lay on this. It was so
it was funny.
Because
Koreans are very aggressive.
Asian, but they knew that it wasn't the right kind. Like they didn't know what it was doing.
So they were like, we must show her how to do everything.
It was so funny.
You're not a Kim or a Lee.
I know, right? They knew. They fucking knew.
They just knew.
All right. Max, what was your favorite part of that movie?
My favorite part is, so this is probably off color, but like anytime they have like an innovation, they show the slaves, like, you know, for the bubbles, the bubbles, you're just like, like this great bubble bath. And then it like cuts to like 5 black people in a room blowing into like tubes. It's so fucking funny.
It was so wrong.
It is like the most off-color joke. Like if you did that shit in America, it would not fly. There'd be so many people mad, but like, oh my god, it was so funny.
And like I'm laughing now, but when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is so uncomfortable. Because the first time it was like the dude blowing 2 pipes, and I was like. Are they literally having a black slave blow into this tub?
Yeah, no, he was. The other one was like he was like fanning the fire. He was like blowing into like a furnace, and it just like that running joke.
Oh my god, it was so funny.
It like totally.
They added Caucasians to it at some point though.
Yeah.
When they were like more than 5.
They did, but that scene specifically was
I was just like, whoa.
And the way that they cut to it too, it was just like it just goes from the bath and it like zooms down into this pit. Oh my god. It's the funniest scene.
And then it cuts away to the toilet with the bidet fountain happening, and I was like just waiting to be like, oh no, how's that one working? But they didn't show it.
Yeah.
And you know the bidet scene, I was like, is that a drinking fountain? Because there was so much water.
There was a lot of
it was
water.
just constantly.
To me, it looked like somebody put like a prop and then like had a hose behind it, and it was just kind of like flooding out of it. And I was like, what the?
Well, that was just plumbing in Roman times.
Yep.
How about you, man? What's your favorite scene?
Mine was
Everyone's
like
crying now.
Mine was like random. It's like when he like gets into the fight with the architect, because the architect's like, I'm broke now, and then like they're arguing, and I was like, and it was very much like, how many architects are fighting for these jobs? And then he pulls out like a blade and like stabs him, and then he falls into the well, and I was like, what the shit is going on?
Gracious. I think my favorite part is when Lucius has this he reaches Nirvana because he's like, I need to use the bathroom, and then the girl takes him to a modern toilet, and and he's like doing he figures out the business, and then he sees the panel on the side for the bidet. He presses the bidet button, and then he's like, oh, it's weird. Wait, is this for washing? And then he does it again, and then you see him, he gets CG'd into a
flower field.
And he's going,
it's playing like this classical music. It's beautiful.
Oh my god, and the guy singing
the opera guy. Every time he goes into modern time
And my
Japan.
favorite was the one time where he was transitioning into going into modern Japan, and the opera guy was chilling in a chair.
In the chair.
He didn't have his jacket on, and then you hear the lady who you never see singing, and he's like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah. So this movie is a hard. It's a comedy, and
it's definitely
you have
a
to
comedy.
take it with a grain of salt.
The whole thing is it's a very good comedy. It not only is like funny in dialogue, but the way that it's cut, the way that it's edited,
it's well edited.
Pacing, the tone of everything, like the jokes are like grade A comedy. Like I can see why it did so well because it's a genuinely funny movie.
Yeah.
And it shows the love of
And
baths.
I just wanted to say, like, because I feel like a lot of the times in these movies, like the girl characters end up being kind of blah and not having much to do. But I have to say that I actually really, really liked Mommy. I just wanted to, like, the way she was introduced was great.
Yeah.
And
She's just quirky.
Yeah.
She had a lot more to do than they usually do.
Yeah, I
very
agree. Yeah, I found her super interesting, and I was rooting for her.
She had her own arc where she like wanted to be a manga artist, and then
yeah.
her manga artist started to leave, and then she had a job, and then she got fired, and then she had to go back to. She had a huge arc. She had to go back to downtown.
I think the charm of her was like she was very much like this kind of like fashionable country girl. You know, the way that she like spoke also definitely like helped her character.
And I liked that she was able to simultaneously like still have her own story and her own goals while also being in love with Lucius.
Yeah.
And I like the love story. It wasn't like
certainly enamored of him.
But the whole thing is, it's like they didn't make it into like this huge like big embrace.
No, it wasn't a love story.
It's a comedy, but it was also very much a grounded romance, which I love, and I hate.
I do too.
I hate when romances go way too far with it.
Yeah.
You know? Just not.
All right, guys. So out of 5, what are y'all giving this? And you can give a 1 out of 5 in its category if you wish. Because it can't be a 5 against like Mononoke Hime. Like,
of course not. No, but I feel like for this, and it felt to me even like reminiscent in some ways of like the old Greek comedies, like just the absurdity of it all. I don't know. I really liked it. I feel like I'm gonna give it a 4.
All right.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
In the comedy division.
In the comedy division. It wasn't perfect, but it was definitely extremely enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'd have to actually give it a 4 too. Obviously this is its own category as a live action movie, as a Japanese live action movie, also because Rurouni Kenshin is the best.
Oh yeah.
But,
you can't. That's not even the same category.
Yeah, but this. The whole thing is, this is one of the rare movies where I have had no clue about at all. And it's also one of those movies that have like a premise that I could possibly never imagine in my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Can't say I would come up with this.
I really did go out on a limb trying to like watch this movie, but I'm glad I did because it did like really show me that, you know, like comedy in Japan is just as good. You know what I mean?
Sometimes Japanese comedy can be a little innocuous, like you don't really get it. But this is all very like physical comedy.
Yeah, there was less of a cultural gap in this comedy than I have seen in a lot of other things.
I agree.
All right.
So 4.
4.
Amazing.
For me, it's probably lower. It's 3.75.
Okay,
all right.
That's too bad.
Good for you, man.
It's that
She gets out a lot of
too.
2s on the show. So.
Yeah. So I loved how funny it was. It was just kind of, I'm the kind of person that like, if I need to turn off my brain before I watch a movie, I need to know. Because
She was an award.
I gotcha.
Like,
I'm pretty sure I
You're like
warned
so
you.
aware, right? You're just like, I'm jonesing for this movie.
It's because, you know, like, I'm one of those nitpicky geeks who are just like, this is so inaccurate. And then, like, the weird racial overtones with the black stripes, I was like, ugh. So,
that's fair.
If I had been prepared for that, I would have given it a higher score.
How could you be prepared for such a movie?
Yeah, I just couldn't prepare.
There's really no way.
You can't
There
say to
isn't.
someone, hey, it's a movie about a Roman played by a Japanese person who goes to modern day Japan to learn about bath technology, then goes back to Rome and fixes some stuff, and there's a lot of race stuff, but, you know, it's really funny. Like, how do you tell somebody?
Yeah, I don't.
Absolutely. I mean, even in the beginning, I was just like, this is probably not going to be for me. But I was surprised.
Yeah.
Pleasantly
I was
surprised.
also surprised that I liked it as much as I did.
So I'm pretty amped to watch the sequel for the show. I'm going to give this, in the category of comedy, of a Japanese live action, I guess I'm gonna say comedy / period. 4. I mean, not a 5.
So many categories.
Because the thing is, like, if it's just a drama movie, then Kenshin is a 5. Then how the hell is this a 4? It's not
right,
It's like a
right.
2,
Of course.
because it's such a good 5. Then you know, anyway, nitpicky stuff. But it's really good. I think if you like weird Japanese shit or
you'll like
weird
this
Roman
movie.
shit
Yeah,
or just
or just funny
ridiculous movies,
then watch this because the comedy builds. I was watching this with my husband and we were literally I was like sitting there with a glass of wine just going like, oh my, what's happening? Every 5 minutes, like, what's happening now? I don't what rewind this.
I was explaining the premise to my roommate before I came over, and she likes all this kind of stuff too, and she was like, that sounds delightful.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Next week, what are we doing, Max?
Next week, we might be doing the live-action Parasite and or Death Note
Oh my God,
and
guys.
or Miko Samurai. I haven't decided yet. I haven't decided. I'm sorry.
Check
But
our
one of those.
Check our Facebook. We'll announce it on there. Facebook.com/Otaku Movie Anatomy. And thank you guys very much. You can find me everywhere on the internet at I am Chumby Bunny. And
You almost forgot what your own Twitter handle was. I never forget my Twitter handle. It's at Emma Fife, which is my name. You can see me on a bunch of shows at our sister network here, AfterBuzz TV. The Sailor Moon Crystal after show is back on Monday nights at 10 p.m. So you guys should totally check that out. And if you guys are Sailor Moon fans, I do also do another Sailor Moon podcast outside of this realm called Love and Justice. It's a lot of fun. You should check it out. Yeah, follow me on Twitter. I tweet way too much.
I'm Maxwell Song, and you can find me at Super Otaku, Super Attack with you at the end. And you can find us on pretty much any sort of social media. And we update all the time for definitely this stuff. So please check it out.
And I will not be here next week, so I will not know what movie you guys watch.
So she's not going to tell you her name.
But you can find me everywhere on the internet at Human Ninja.
All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you next week at 8.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.